Hey, what's up YouTube? I'm back with another video, and in today's video I'm going to be talking about why the Corolla is the best daily driver out there. So this is my car over here. To say 2022 Toyota Corolla Sedan. Now I'll be giving off some reasons why I think this is the best daily driver and the best first entry-level car to get into if you want to look forward to building a car. Now this car doesn't get the love and appreciation that it deserves, and it's mainly due to the fact that the Corolla hatchback is more popular to mod in the car community than this. But however, this doesn't make it any different than the Corolla hatchback because this is basically the sedan. It has the same motor, it has the same chassis, so it's basically the same thing just with a little bit more practicality. Now, a question that I do get quite often is that why did I go with the Corolla sedan than the hatchback? And the reason behind it is I explained it in my previous video. Back when I got this car, I was in high school and I pretty much needed the extra practicality because the hatchback doesn't have enough room in the back and it doesn't have a big trunk like this. And plus I needed a sedan as a first car. And plus this looks pretty good as well compared to the hatchback. Now the hatchback does look good as well, but however, in my personal opinion, I like the sedan more than the hatchback. Now let's talk about what makes this the best daily driver out there. Now this not only is a great car to daily, but it's also a great car to mod and daily at the same time. And the first reason behind it is affordability. So the car is cheap. It's $26,000 Canadian. That's the price on it. The insurance is also cheap on it depending on your age and your driving record. The ownership costs and maintenance costs are also pretty cheap as well. Fuel is pretty cheap for this as well. It has a 50-liter tank, so depending on the gas prices in your area, you can do the math on how much it would cost to fill up. The maintenance cost is also pretty cheap on it as well. I mean, it's a Toyota after all. At the end of the day, it's going to be pretty reliable. Now that we've discussed all the daily categories of this thing, why it approves with all daily categories, that it's cheap, affordable, reliable, all that, it's also practical for daily driving as well. Now we're going to get on to why I think this is a really good car to mod. So the first reason, I've already mentioned it before, that this car is really underappreciated in the car community, that this doesn't get as much love that it deserves. But the second thing is that the aftermarket support on this is pretty good. There's a lot of great mods that you can do to this car, and it won't cost you thousands of dollars out of your pocket. And since it being a JDM car, this has a lot of tuning potential to it. But however, stereotypes for this car still exist. That it's still a Corolla, it's still a family car, which is true and all. The demographic buyer for this are typically people with a family or working class people. But however, we as the car community are chill. We don't care what car you have, whichever car you have, as long as it's a clean build, we'll respect it. So that's why it doesn't make sense to say that, oh, just because it's a Corolla, it doesn't deserve to get modded out. No, I don't believe in this type of stuff. I believe that we as the car community, you can have any car, and as long as it's a clean build, we'll respect it. And plus, this generation of Corolla is also the sportiest Corolla to come out so far. And it also has a really nice sounding exhaust from the factory. And I'll show that by giving it a startup. Now this isn't a cold start, it's going to be a warm start. So you guys can listen to the exhaust on it. Now I'm not going to give it a few revs because right now it's a little bit late at night and I don't want to disturb the neighbors, but you guys can kind of get the feel for it, and I'll post some sound clips of it, of me giving it some revs. So yes, this thing does come with a pop tune from the factory. So once you hit the limiter, which is around 5,500 RPMs, it makes popping sounds. Now I was told to straight pipe it, but at the same time, I like the way how this sounds from the factory, because if you straight pipe it, it's all going to be noise. That's one thing about exhaust modifications. I like straight piping, but it depends on what type of car you do it to. Now, I like the way how this sounds from the factory, but the thing with straight piping is that compared to other exhaust systems, I feel like you should just spend the extra money and invest into an exhaust system. Those also make a car sound nice. It's not just going to be simply loud. Straight piping is just simply your car is going to be loud. And another thing with straight piping is that when you start to straight pipe your exhaust system, you're obviously going to want to go catless. And the thing with going catless is that the smell is disgusting. Now, however, you can get a high-end catless downpipe or something like that, which are most German car owners get them. I'm not sure if that's the option on JDM cars. Those basically reduce the smell, so you don't have to be smelling your car when you're stopped at a red light. light. Another thing is that like this car isn't slow. Now, the only thing that in my opinion makes it kind of slow is the transmission. This thing has a CVT transmission, but however, CVTs are great technology like from Toyota. Like Toyota is the only company that knows how to make a proper CVT transmission. But the thing with CVTs compared to a regular automatic is that when you floor the gas, like when you're completely stopped, it's not going to instantly launch. It's going to kind of take its time and all that, and it's not going to give you a good feeling. But once it starts to kick in, it's going to like really put that power down to the ground. Now, this car does weigh like 2,800 pounds, which is really light in these times where cars are getting heavier and heavier day by day. So the 0 to 100 kilometers an hour that I get is 6 seconds. However, that also depends on what type of tires you're running. Some people may say that, oh, 6 seconds? I thought these were like close to like 7, like 6, 8 or something like that. Well, it all depends on what type of tires you're running. So I'm running Michelin Pilot Sport 4S tires, which are the best performance summer tires on the market. These are pretty expensive tires, and these really grip your car down to the ground to give you that maximum level of traction. So therefore, it stays glued to the ground when you're launching it, so it can help you get better 0 to 100 kilometers an hour times. Now, when buying this car, there are two options of CVT transmissions that you can get. Both of them are CVT. One of them is going to be the regular CVT transmission, which I have over here, and the other one is going to be the sports CVT transmission with paddle shifters and manually shifting it. Now, the reason why I went with this option is because of one factor. Now, having gears in a CVT transmission doesn't make sense, like you doing the shifting yourself. A CVT transmission is basically a gearless transmission where it's the belt and pulley system like putting out torque. So the thing is that like you can technically still drive it in that manner, but I'll kind of show you a demo. So let's say you're in drive, but however, if you put it in this gear, now you guys might be wondering what's B. Now technically it's engine braking, which means a low shift gear range. So it will keep the RPMs high, but you'll be in a lower gear. It's basically a type of CVT technology. If you put it in this will basically make the transmission shift faster. So I know like that's how Toyota says that like B is engine braking, it's like a low range gear and all that, but I'll give you a short answer to it. It's basically it will make the transmission shift faster. I call it the boost mode. Now, do I oftentimes drive with this? Technically no, because it will you'll eat up more fuel in your car, and you can still push this and have fun with it in drive, but this is just for if you want to have that added boost and want to make the transmission shift faster. But I'd say only do it, like do not launch the car with this. It's going to be the same result. Only do it when you're just cruising. You can put it in B and then like basically have the transmission shift faster. And that's another reason why it gets hate out there, because it has a CVT transmission. And as a car enthusiast, your CVT is technically your last choice. However, in the times that we're living nowadays, almost like all manufacturers are now switching to CVT transmissions except for the Germans. I still like, that's why I love the German car companies like BMW, Mercedes, Audi, and Porsche, because they have not started to use that technology even in their low-end cars. So you will basically start finding CVT transmissions in like a lot of American car manufacturers and Japanese cars. Most Japanese cars nowadays have a CVT transmission. Even some performance cars like the Subaru WRX comes with a CVT transmission. However, with Toyota's direct shift CVT transmission, it's a CVT transmission with a launch gear in it. So it's not just relying on the belt, it has a launch gear in it as well, which makes it the best CVT transmission on the market. It's not like those Nissan CVTs out there that basically break down. So it basically feels like you're driving a normal automatic. And speaking of the Nissan CVT transmission, that's also another reason why a lot of people like hate buying CVT transmissions cars, is because if these break down, now with Nissans, yes, they will break down once you hit a certain amount of kilometers on the car. I believe it's like over 200,000 kilometers, then you might see issues like this. But even like with any other car, when these break down, these are much more expensive to repair than a regular automatic transmission with gears, because it's not like that you could just go out there and buy the belt or the component. You basically have to then replace the whole entire transmission. With a regular automatic transmission, like let's say if a gear failed in it, you can just go out and buy a replacement for it. Or worst case scenario, you might have to replace the transmission. The transmission isn't going to be as expensive compared to a CVT transmission replacement. Now that all those things are out of the way, I'm going to be explaining my ownership costs with this car. Now, I'm about 19 years old. I'm going to be 20 soon. I pay about like $400 a month for this car in insurance. I know it's kind of wild because if you're a young male driver under the age of 25, you're going to be paying more for insurance. Now, the amount I spend in fuel on this car monthly is around like $200 to $250. That all depends on like how much I'm driving the car. I fill it up once a week, which is good enough. It lasts me a week. And I average like 8 liters per 100 kilometers, which is good enough fuel economy. And this car also comes with really great features as well. So this is the infotainment screen over here. You have your audio, you can like connect it to Bluetooth or listen to AM or FM radio. This is your information of your fuel economy and all that, and your trip information. And here, this is your settings, just your basic stuff. Now apps, now this, either you can like use a Entune software in it where you can like download apps to it, such as if you want to add navigation to it or download other apps to it, or it's basically your Apple CarPlay. So projection is basically your Apple CarPlay. You plug it in over here and you get CarPlay. And in terms of features of what the driver gets, you have a analog gauge cluster with a digital gauge cluster. So these two are analog and this is the digital. So with this button over here, with the press of this button, I can control my digital gauge cluster. So I can like not show any information. So this is mostly your lane information, because this car does come with lane departure sensoring and all that. So if you're swerving out of your lane, it will alert you. Now, a lot of like Toyota owners do hate that feature because they're like, it's too annoying. I feel like it's gonna get us killed, but you can adjust the sensitivity in the settings. This is basically your trip information, like the car being the snitch. It tells like how long your car's been running, how much distance you've traveled and all that. Then these are just your settings. This is your messages, where it shows you like any messages, like such as if you need to get service done or anything, like if there's something wrong with your vehicle. You scroll it down, these are your fuel economy numbers over here, and this is basically showing like how much fuel like you're using depending on how much you're pressing on the brake or the throttle. And this car also comes with adaptive cruise control as well. So when you click this once, this is your adaptive radar cruise control. So it has a LiDAR system in it which detects the distance in front of the vehicle, like your vehicle and the vehicle in front. And because of the LiDAR sensor, so if this car was to sense a collision, it would automatically brake for you. And even with using adaptive cruise control, you can adjust the distance by pressing this button over here, but on how much distance you want to keep from your car and the car in front. So I'm really happy with my car. I've been having fun with it for the past 3 years now. I've also talked about it in my previous video that yes, would I replace it? Yeah, of course. If I found a better replacement, of course I would replace it. I obviously want a faster car with more features in it, and I'm looking forward to go German for my next car. But however, till then, as I have this, I'm having fun with it. And I've been having fun with it for the past 3 years. I built a lot of memory and I built basically a relationship with this car. All right, anyways, I hope y'all enjoyed. Like and subscribe for more car content.